Hey everyone, Kevin and I are here, but we're here in a bit of a different format. We are kind of virtual, not in the same location. We're just testing this as a way of doing the podcasts, and we would love your feedback about how you found it. I think we genuinely prefer to do it together, don't we, Kevin? But
Yeah,
sometimes when we're traveling or we're in different locations, we're going to do it this way. So we're just testing this out. Today, we're going to talk about the idea of when you're triggered and how to best process that. And I guess the way we think about what triggering is when something happens in your life that makes you feel uncomfortable, that makes you feel emotional, and puts you in a different state that maybe you don't want to be in. So do you want to start, mate?
yeah. So it was my birthday on Friday, and we won't go into which birthday, but it was my birthday, and a few things came up for me. I arranged, and Andrew was there. I arranged a night at one of the hotels locally, and had family and friends, and had a good night. Nothing
It
over
was
the
cool.
top.
Lots of fun. Yeah.
Lots of conversations with very different people that don't normally see each other. And that was fantastic. But I woke up on Friday morning just with the sense that there was something missing, and that may seem obvious knowing what happened with me, but it was like, another birthday that is meant to be a celebration, another year passed, and, all those sorts of things. And I was looking forward to the evening, but I just had there's something missing. There was something not there. I got through Friday. Friday night was lovely. And then the weekend, I just felt lonely. I had things on Saturday morning. I caught up with an old schoolmate on Sunday afternoon and his family here in
Nice.
Manly. Yeah, which was wonderful, and his birthday is the day after mine too. So we go way back. And
do you know the thing that I relate to is that even so, you described waking up feeling flat, which I think we all can feel a certain mood or a feeling inside us that permeates our being. And regardless of what the outside world presents us, we still feel that. So what I'm saying is, even though you had people around you all weekend and it was your birthday, you can still feel lonely inside, regardless of how many people you have around you, because there is something unprocessed in there that is making you feel lonely. I don't know what that is or why, but I suspect something in there, right? Is that because that happens?
Yeah, absolutely, and it is not having my soulmate here with me, and I'm still working my way through that whole process, and I'm sure it'll take a long time. But yeah, so it brought up the conversation around triggering, and we talked about this outside of this video, but initially it was that flat feeling, and then through the weekend I started. I spent some time on my own and let it process. And then on Monday, I couldn't get going. So I got back to the old, 21 months ago Mondays, which was like, what am I doing this for? What's this all about? Why am I going to work, this week? What am I trying to achieve here? And I played tennis. I did the stuff that's been helping, but and we had coffee and nice chats, but it was just, I could feel myself not present with the conversations. And then I came down, I finally, I had to go for a swim. I did all these things to try and sit down and feel motivated. And I've been highly motivated over the last couple of weeks, totally different to the last 18, 20 months. And I was sitting here and the Grammys were on. I was working on my own at home, and I put the Grammys on, and just in the background. And I at one stage, I don't even know what the award was for. I think it was like a Hall of Fame type thing for Joni Mitchell, and she sang, and even now I can feel that emotion still, just talking about it. and it triggered me, which is the common use of what we talk about. It triggers us, and then I sat through that, and let it be, and let it come out, and then thought, well, that's a good thing. There's obviously lots of emotions that are still trapped in me somewhere that need these triggers, which are actually a positive reaction, to allow these emotions to move. And then in our discussions outside of the video today, we talked about looking at the trigger as a positive process, as a positive moment, rather than a negative moment.
So for a long time in my marriage, when things weren't great, and there was don't get me wrong, there's a lot of amazing things about it in terms of 3 kids, and we've done a lot of things together, but with the parts of it that didn't work, where those places that happened where it didn't work, they happened in a time and space. They could be a bedroom, or they could be a hallway, they could be a restaurant. And I can go to places that look similar, or even be in the same place in the past and be taken to a feeling of lack, or a feeling of everything that's not right. And so I relate to your feeling, which is whatever it was. Maybe it was your birth, everyone getting together at your birthday reminding you Mandy wasn't there. Who knows? There's something subconscious going on that has taken you to a place. And I think the reason I'm saying that is because it is very normal for that to occur. For a person who's lived a life, we have had enough experience that we would have been placed into a situation where a situation can take us to that prior experience or that past experience.
It's interesting. Sorry, on that point about going to different places. The interesting thing that comes up for me is that these positive reactions or positive emotion shifts happen out of the blue. I've been I lived in Australia with Mandy for over 35 years. So we've done a lot of stuff. We lived in Manly. We lived in this apartment together. We used to go and have drinks at the Stain. We used to go sit on the beachfront, have our coffees, all that stuff. And none of that has bothered me. Yeah. Well, we're not saying none of that. I can't think of any of those that have bothered me. There's been other triggers, other positive reactions, but not that. So I'm curious as to why that and not something else. It's quite weird how that happens.
So my sense of that, and it's not really logical, it's more a feeling sense, is that probably our higher self, but there's something beyond this current human self that knows we need to feel things at certain times to get us where we want to be. So we put intentions out into the world, like, I want to earn this much money. I would like a new relationship. I would like to travel the world. I would like whatever, those things, they're desires around how we want to live our life. As soon as we put those desires out into the world, it feels to me like there's something beyond us that goes, okay, for you to achieve that, you're going to have to release this. And I think the situation that we have both had, where we're put in similar places, or we get things shown to us on social, or we walk through a place, I don't think is actually random. I think somehow we're kind of drawn to it, or it's presented to us, because ultimately, if you look in your case, what happens in the end is that 2 or 3 days later, you are presented with then a different trigger that allows you to process and release that emotion that actually is still there for you.
Yeah.
So I think the more we can work through with not seeing experience in life as good and bad, but just as experience that's allowing us to process things that haven't been processed, and that we just allow experience to let emotion out.
Yeah.
And so if you think that way, or if you feel that way, is probably more the thing. You're less likely to be self-critical and more likely to be self-compassionate. And yeah. So what were you going to say around that?
Oh, so and that's really the point. Is you need to be self-compassionate for sure.
Yeah.
The beating yourself up doesn't help in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And naturally, we go there, and that was my first reaction. Bloody hell, what am I doing to myself here? And then hang on a minute. And this was processed before the trigger happened, or the positive reaction, however we want to frame it. And then through that process, though, I was using my head to process it analytically, looking at it from a curiosity point of view, and not feeling. And that's when the song came on, and then made me go into my heart.
So I think that's right. I think that if we don't initiate a movement towards the heart, it's almost like the world will conspire to push us in that direction, to feel into those feelings.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth recognizing that we are now in 2024 much more comfortable with our feelings as a general society. And there was a long time where I think they were these murky things that made us feel uncomfortable, and we wanted to push them away.
Yeah.
And I would encourage everyone, or anyone listening, to find to embrace yourself fully, to embrace all your emotions and to embrace all your experience, because it's there to serve you. And while it might seem bad, the human mind can only perceive the lesson backwards. It can't perceive it forwards. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at it forwards, you're like, oh, I fucking ruined my weekend because, I had my party and then I'm going to feel flat all weekend. And forwards, you can't see the lesson. Mm-hmm. But backwards, you can go, oh, actually, I needed to release something, that I wasn't aware of. Yeah. So I think that in itself logically is also the reason just to embrace it, because later we'll probably understand what that was all about, but we can't understand it when we're trying to logically understand it going forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then it's the power of that, whatever you want to call the universe, whichever way you look at it, to give you that reminder. Hey, think about what's and then look back as to, so you have this positive reaction to something, and that gives you the time, gives you the opportunity, not so much the time, gives you the opportunity to look back and learn or spiral further. So that's the tricky piece. That's the piece that I could quite easily have gone into the spiral.
Yeah.
I chose not to. I chose to sit with that and look at it from a curiosity and feel it from within the heart.
Yeah. So I think spiraling is the mind going into almost like a chaotic form because it's trying to avoid the feeling. And that's my experience of spiraling. So it's almost like because of your existing feeling within yourself, it lowers your vibration, or your feeling about yourself right down low. And then at that vibration or that level, all these other negative things that are at that same level start coming into your mind, like what's going to happen with my work, and what's going to happen with my life, and what's going to happen with my physical health. And once you're down that level, all that stuff starts coming back in. And the feeling of the emotion and allowing it to process often resolves the thinking. And then it can allow you to free you up to get back onto something positive that you enjoy, like whatever, walking, dance, like even just working or whatever it is. And then that lifts you back up, and you don't get all those thoughts that are like down in this level down here.
Yeah.
That's my experience of it anyway. Having gone through that cycle a few times.
Mm. And they'll come back again. That's one thing I realize, they've happened before and they will continue. It's not something that you then have fixed.
No.
It's something that you work with along the way, and
Yeah.
that's a really good thought process to have around. Hey, things are going to come up, and they may not present themselves right away, and then you might get this trigger happening that will put a mirror up for you and allow you to process it and allow you to choose to learn from it. And once it's out the way, it doesn't mean that that's the end of it. It may be the end of it for that emotion or that feeling, or
but there may be another layer to it.
Yeah. So, and I've definitely learned that over the last 22 months that, there's a lot of things in life that are quite difficult at times, and we find the right way to attend to them.
We do.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave it there. Before we finish, the two things that I want to remind people of is, whether you're watching this when we post it or whether you're watching it later, we would love to hear your comments about what parts of it resonated and which parts of it helped you. And the second is just to reaffirm that the reason we're doing this is not about us. It's absolutely about you, and it is about us and our experience, but it's also about sharing that experience so that you can learn from it, and you can live the life that you want to live. So on that angle, if there are any topics as you're watching this that you would love us to talk about that we haven't yet, just let us know in the comments or just contact us, and we'll do our best.
And it gives us the vehicle to, put ourselves out vulnerably, to allow other people to see what can be done if they're not in the same space.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Bye for now.
Bye.